Welcome, fellow bookworms, to Tibra's Den. My name is Whitney, and it is time for another Monday Musings. I had a fantastic week, and it was a good, balanced week. I got a lot read, which I'm very happy about. I'm pretty confident I will complete my callings for Aurelium, which is fantastic. And yeah, we did other things as well. So it wasn't just like all reading. It was a balanced week with a lot of reading thrown in, which I absolutely love. So Friday, my husband and I did end up going to see Yumi in Tuscany. We had a little date night. We just went to the local theater because we didn't really feel like going down to the bigger city. So even though that theater's not as comfortable and it's older and such, it was fine. And we went to the 3:30 showing, so we had the theater completely to ourselves, which was a lot of fun. And really enjoyed that. And then we had some dinner and then went to the local grocery store and got a few things that we normally get there. And then Saturday, we went to the bigger grocery store to get our big monthly haul and get the stuff we need. And then had breakfast and did that. And then we came home and we made a huge batch of tortilla soup. We call it tortilla. We joke about the pronunciation. Anyway, tortilla soup. We had made a big old batch of tortilla soup because I had made a batch like a week or so ago. But it turned out so good. Even though I didn't have all the ingredients on hand, I just kind of winged it, and it turned out so good. And so we made a huge batch. We'll be eating it all week. I'm already looking forward to lunch today because I'm going to be eating that for sure. Made some soda bread to go with it, which is delicious. And yeah, had a great day Saturday. And then I decided I did want to play World of Warcraft. I haven't played like in a month or two. And so I was like, I want to play again. And so we played that with each other for a little while as well. And then Sunday, I had Kim's live show for Expedition Through Pages. So I did that. And then I had my family's book club discussion, did that, and played a little bit more World of Warcraft. This morning, I did end up selling another eBay book. So I did have to run in and mail that off. And we had forgotten a couple things at Walmart. So we went ahead and picked those up as well. So I've already had a productive and busy morning. And yeah, it's just been like a great week. And like I said, I got a lot of reading done. I wanted to read 6 books. I did get 5 books finished, and I'm almost to the halfway point in the 6th book. I'm at the 40% mark, so not quite. But still a lot of reading, and I'm very excited about what I got read. And like I said, I'm pretty confident I will complete my calling. So let's go ahead and discuss the books. First up, I talked about this a little bit last week because I had just barely started it. I was like only 33 pages in, but I did read The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. This was for my Godseer calling for lore, ancient speculative lore, which was to read a dystopia or utopia. And I had never read The Hunger Games. That said, though, this felt very much like a reread. It was very familiar, very nostalgic. I have seen the movies, and I don't know why it felt so familiar and nostalgic, even though I have seen the movies, because it's not like I watched them all the time. Like, I saw them a couple times. I enjoyed them. And it's been years and years since I've watched them. But, yeah, I think, based on what I remember, the movies did a really good job following the story of the book. And definitely been sleeping on the series. I can't believe I waited so long to read it. So this is following Katniss. I don't like to assume people know, even though it's a popular book and most people do. We're following Katniss, and it's North America after, things kind of fell apart. And so now it's Panem is what it's called, and there's different districts. There was a rebellion and an uprising against the capital, and so now each year they do the Hunger Games, and each district has to send 2 children ages 12 to 18, a boy and a girl, to compete in the Hunger Games where they fight to the death and only one victor emerges, and then their district, whatever district they're from, gets like food and such. And so, yeah, I definitely was sleeping on this. I really enjoyed this. I ended up giving that a 5 stars. And then I immediately went into the second book, which is Catching Fire, also for lore, but for my necromancer calling. And enjoyed this one even more than the first one. Again, still had that nostalgic, familiar feel from when I watched the movies ages ago. But I would say I did enjoy this even more than the first one. And just had a fantastic time, flew through both of those. Then I had to hit a slog. I read An Acceptable Time by Madeleine L'Engle. This was for my Godseer Calling Psionics and Divination, reading past and future, word time in the title. And yeah, I did not enjoy this one. This is the 5th book in the Time Quintet, and like the 4th book in the O'Keefe series, which I've never read that one. But basically, we're following Meg from A Wrinkle in Time, the main character from A Wrinkle in Time. We're following her daughter, and I did not like it. So I read the first 3 books multiple times, like many times, especially A Wrinkle in Time. I've read that so many times throughout my life. And then I read the 4th book, Many Waters, which follows Meg's twin brothers, Sandy and Denny's, last semester for the autumn equinox. And I did not like it. It had like weird sexual undertones. And I really did not like this one either, even more than that one. At least that one, like, it had a little bit of a story to it. This one, 230 pages of the characters just talking around in circles and circles, repeating themselves, and not saying a thing. Like, it was such a slog. Finally, kind of get to the point. So she's visiting her grandparents because the school where they're living isn't a very good school, and she's very intelligent. So she's living with her grandparents to kind of increase and doing homeschooling with them to get a better education, essentially. And so she's walking along in the woods, and she ends up 3,000 years in the past. And it kind of ties back to the first one with like the Tessering and such, the Tesseract. And so it's kind of like the space time, like, folding situation. Um, and so that's kind of, she goes back a couple times, but it doesn't really take off until, like I said, after that 230 page mark, and then it kind of gets to it. And there's this weird, inappropriate relationship with Zachary, which I guess was in the book, the O'Keefe book prior to this one. She meets him. I figured out based on that, like reading the synopsis for that one. In this one, she should be 17 because she was 16 in that one, and it's like a year later. And he just like shows up at her grandparents' place, like, oh, I asked your parents where you were, where I could find you, and he just kind of shows up there. And I don't know how old he is. He's doing an internship at a law office, and like he's a year or two out from like law school, but he's at least over 21 because he does make the comment, "Oh, I won't drink because I'm driving," which, good on you. And he's a dislikable character. He's supposed to be, because there's kind of a lesson there about, forgiveness and not enacting revenge just because somebody did ill to you, kind of situation. But it was really unnecessary. I did not enjoy that. And that weird romance with them. Like, you're over 21. Why are you pursuing a high school girl? Like, no, yuck. So there's that. And then there's also a situation with one of the guys 3,000 years in the past. Like, he wants to do this blood sacrifice. And then she starts having feelings for him too. And it's like, dude, he wanted to sacrifice you. Like, how are you okay with that? And like finding him attractive and such. Like, no. So that was weird. And I wish it had just focused like on the past timeline, because like I said, the present timeline and all those conversations were just, they weren't saying anything, and they were just talking in circles, repeating themselves. So I wish it had focused more on the 3,000, years in the past, and the conflict between the two tribes back then. I wish that had been the focus, because by the time it got to that, like, I've already slogged through it. I already hate you, and I did not get any satisfaction. And then you have these weird things with these two guys. Like, no, thank you. So I ended up giving this a 2-star, because 1 star is if I can't even get through it at all. Then it's a 1-star. If I can get through it, it's a 2-star. But I really did not like that one. So there is that. Then we had Half His Age by Jennette McCurdy. This was also for my Necromancer calling. This was for Spells and Incantation. In Fashion Spells and Incantations, currently on a bestseller list. So read this one, which had a lot of parallels, surprisingly, to Mandarin Orange Sunday. So this is a student-teacher romance. This is an affair with a rock star, between a writer and a rock star. But in this case, both of the males are married, and they're the other woman, and they understand that they're the other woman, and they're kind of trying to come to terms with that. Like realizing like this is what I agreed to, but I'm not happy, and what do I deserve? So there's kind of a lot of parallels to this one. And this one is very similar to My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell, I want to say is her name. Of course, I'll leave it down below. But this one we're following Waldo, and I kind of hope she does a sequel and it's more like My Dark Vanessa, where we're following Waldo like and she's an adult and reflecting back on this relationship. I would really love a sequel that does that, but we'll just have to see if that happens or not. We're following Waldo and we're in Waldo's head, like we're following Waldo's perspective. And it's very, very crude. This would be a great book club discussion if you don't get triggered by the content because, student teacher relationship and she's 17, underage. And you don't mind the crudeness because it is extremely crude. And it is very simple, straightforward writing, which I saw an interview with her and she's like, yeah, I want it to be just straightforward and simple. And so, yeah, Waldo pursues this teacher. Like, she's interested in him. He doesn't instigate it, but he opens the door for it. And then as the relationship progresses, like, he's very, all about him. Like, well, I know I'm horrible and I shouldn't be doing this. And it's like, yeah, you keep opening the door for it. Like, enough is enough. You're a horrible person. And so, yeah, we're following Waldo. We're in her head, and she's, pursuing this teacher, and it's very crude, but it makes sense for the character. Like, I don't like crude writing; it's not my thing. I don't find it tasteful. Well, obviously, it's not tasteful; it's crude. But like some people, it doesn't bother them. To me, I don't like it. But in this case, it made sense for the character. She grows up, she says it herself, like white trailer trash is how she grows up. Which I lived in a trailer park, like, we were very poor. Like, there's nothing, but there's definitely a certain, like, with her mother and the way her mother is, like, you see that side of it. And her father, ran off, like, had nothing to do with them. And then her mother is constantly absent with a different guy. And so, yeah, she's just trying to find something that kind of makes her feel. And it does kind of talk about like when she's upset or anything, she binge shops. So there's that conversation in there as well. And then kind of her pursuit of this man and then kind of getting upset because he has a wife and he has a kid. And so there'll be, he'll have to cancel on her, he'll take her on a date and his wife is calling and he has to answer and such. So yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. And I actually enjoyed it. I liked like that psychology of it a lot. So there is that one. Then we have another one for my necromancer calling. This one was for restoration, so restorative adoration. You get a 5 stars from a friend and pick one. So I used Allison on the book break Storygraph, and I just picked the first 5 stars I owned. And I already read the one for my herbologist calling because I ended up needing 3 of them because I needed restoration for each of my callings. And so this one, like I said, is for Necromancer, and it's the Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore. I ended up giving this one a 4-star. Enjoyment-wise, I definitely was like 5-star enjoyment-wise, but there was things I didn't like. So there's kind of this thing with a conflict with the manager who worked for her aunt. So basically the premise is you have Jeannie and something happens in the city and with her work situation there and really upsetting. And so she ends up, her aunt wants to retire and travel and such. So she ends up coming to the small town and taking over the cafe from her aunt. And there's the situation with the manager, and I wish that had just been left out. I didn't think it added to the story at all, and I just didn't enjoy that part of it. But I really liked the characters together. Our main character Logan, like he's kind of quiet, shy, grumpy, and he had a situation, and so that baggage from his last relationship definitely bleeds into his relationship with Jeannie, and the way the conflict played out, like, I thought it made sense. Um, and I just really had a great time with it. I liked the small town vibes. It was kind of over the top and quirky without being too much, I would say. And just I flew through this. I had a fantastic time. I do have the second one, and the third one I'm going to be reading at Christmas time, so I'll definitely try to get the second one read sometime in between now and Christmas. Obviously, have plenty of time for that, but yeah, had a fantastic time with this as well. So there's that. And then I started my last book for my God Served Calling. And this is also for restoration. So again, five stars from a friend. And I just took from that list from Allison on a book break. And I'm reading The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. I'm about 40%. I am 40% of the way through. I read that 40% within a couple hours at bedtime last night. So I will for sure finish this today. Or if I don't get a lot of reading time in, maybe tomorrow if I'm super tired and just end up crashing. But I think I'll probably finish it tonight. But so far, flying through this, really enjoying this as well. I can see why Freida McFadden is very popular and very like popcorn bingeable thriller books. So yeah, we're following Millie, the housemaid, and she's kind of desperate for a job. She's living in her car, and even though there's some weird red flags, she ends up taking this job with this very wealthy family as a live-in maid. And the wife and the child of the house are it's tough to work with situation. Um, and so yeah, so far really enjoying this, and I'm interested to see how it plays out. So we'll see how that goes, but I'll be reading, like I said, finishing that tonight or tomorrow early. And I have till Thursday. And the next two are both for my necromancing calling. So first we have Animal Studies, Shadow Wolves, Wolves on cover in the title or in the content. And I'm reading A Wolf Called Wander by Rosanne Parry. This is based on a real wolf. And yeah, I can't wait. It's middle grade. It has lots of pictures. And so it's less than 300 pages. So I'll be able to get through this really quickly as well. So that's going to be my next read after The Housemaid. And then we also have my other necromancer. This one is for Demonology, Common Demonic Dwellings, House on the cover. And I'm going to be reading Serafina and the Black Cloak by Robert Beatty, another middle grade. And you can see, of course, there's a house right there. And so this will be my final read for my callings for Aurelium. And like I said, 4 days, 2 middle grades under 300 pages, and I'm already basically halfway through The Housemaid, and gonna fly through that. I foresee no problems finishing my callings, and then that just leaves the Archivist book pick for our guild read, and that's Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher. I'm hoping this is 400 pages. And I am hoping to get to it, but I'm not going to necessarily push myself. So if I'm just not feeling it or whatever reason, I'll probably just put this back on the shelf for now. I'm focusing on so many other series that I don't mind this one waiting. It was a book a book I'm really interested in. So when it popped up for the guild read, I was like, oh yeah, I'll try to read that. But we'll just see. I think it is possibly doable to start it. I don't know about finishing it. And I don't want to stress. Like, I've had a really great reading month. I don't want to stress. So this one's a maybe. If I don't get to it, though, I don't think I'm going to roll it over into May. I think it'll just go back on the shelf for now. So we'll have to see about that. And then, like I said, my first read for May for this weekend, I do want to be reading Mockingjay, which is the third book in the Hunger Games trilogy. It's on my May TBR, and I just want to keep that momentum up. And even though I know how it plays out, like, I want to keep that momentum up, and I want to read this right away. So this will be my first read of May, and I do want to at least start it this weekend. So we'll just have to see. And then I don't know from there what I'm going to do, but I probably won't get more than that by next Monday anyway. because it'll be my reading journal. I'll work on that this weekend, and I'll probably want to play more World of Warcraft now that I'm back into it. So this weekend's probably going to be reading light, so it'll probably just be Mockingjay. But yeah, that's kind of what my reading situation is looking like. If you're participating in Aurelium, I would love to know how you guys did. I love Aurelium, like I love doing the prompts and the classes and such. I don't take it as seriously as others, but I do have a great time with it. So I would love to know how your Aurelium semester went, or if you're not participating in Aurelium, I'd love to know if you've read any of these books, or if you're interested in any of them, or a book you're currently enjoying. If you just want to let me know you're here and you're helping to support the channel, you can always leave a rabbit or any type of animal emoji, maybe a wolf or a bird. You can leave those down in the comments below, or your favorite animal. It doesn't really matter. But I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys here. Happy reading, everyone. Bye.